evening. What do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Your DNA programming and its recognized effect on life. Article by Melanie Tanya Evans from MelanieTanyaEvans.com. Science is now proving how our belief systems affect our realities. No longer is this awareness purely a spiritual concept. This truth of life is now available scientifically and physiologically. These discoveries are allowing the mainstream community to understand the power and responsibility we have to ourselves, to choose and create the versions of life we'd like to live. These truths give us back our power. By connecting with our inner intelligence, we're shifting away from relying on our outside world to make us happy and into beings that decide and create our own happiness. We do have the power to manifest our desires. The discoveries the current generations of physicists are making are both dividing the scientific community and thrilling the spiritual community. Previously, science believed the world we lived in is objectively real. That is, it exists as a separate entity regardless of our connection to it. As science progressed, however, and the composition of the atom was researched, it was discovered that the previous laws describing the behavior of atoms no longer applied to subatomic studies. Physical definitions and common-sense theories could not explain the response of these particles. Quantum physics is a modern science that supports the theory of the grand unified field. Everything in life is connected. When atoms are broken down, quarks and electrons are discovered, and within these particles exist pure energy, which is not physically measurable. Quantum science has discovered this energy has its own intelligence and responds in a non-physical and non-common-sense way. Greg Braden, author of The Isaiah Effect and other books, demonstrates this in his experiments and reports on it in his article, The Science of Peace and the Power of Prayer. Quantum physics recognizes that everything in the universe exists at the same note. That is, it all has the commonality of pure identical energy. This energy is known by spiritualists as consciousness or God. Therefore, a rock, a bird, a star, or a human being are all ultimately made out of the same stuff. In spiritual terms, this is acknowledgement that God is everywhere and exists in all things. This energy cannot not exist. It has never not been and never will not be. It is infinite and indestructible. All of this energy is linked. Therefore, it's known as the grand unified field. This unification means that every aspect of our energy affects energy surrounding us. As humans, we all have our own separate consciousness that is definitely unique, yet is also linked to the consciousness of the entire universe. We are connected to everything. In essence, every human experiences a reality of being the center of their own universe. Therefore, everything we believe and think doesn't just govern our behavior, it literally creates the world we experience. We actually shape our life and everything in it via our thoughts and the belief we have about ourselves and life. We've always been doing this, albeit much of this process has been unconscious. In other words, we haven't realized we're actually doing this. Our thoughts literally draw real and solid things from the multiple possibilities involved in our entire existence. Quantum scientists are now conducting measurable experiments never before thought possible to prove the theory: consciousness creates reality. Because our consciousness is creating our realities, it's important to understand our thoughts are the consciousness we are emitting that creates the reality of everything we experience in our life. Our thoughts will always relate to the belief systems we've adopted. Therefore, the way to change our consciousness is to change our belief systems. The world we experience is not a random event. If we change our belief systems, we will in fact change our personal world. Changing an experience through belief. Our thought, belief about something, is extremely powerful. Most people don't realize the effect this has on their everyday life. For example, maybe you're having difficulty with a family member, and you have to drive over to their house to see them. On the way there, you're feeling extremely defensive and agitated. You fully anticipate, believe, it's going to be an unpleasant experience. Chances are, it will be. What if, though, you were conscious and realized there's a better way to work with this emerging scenario? If you did, you may imagine a warm and loving scene with this family member and set an intent in your mind. This will be a harmonious and loving visit and will be resolved in the most loving and perfect way for all involved. Chances are, when you arrive, this family member will be calm, loving, and accommodating, and any differences would have dissipated. You absolutely have the power to change an event simply by the way you think about it. There is nothing profound or mystical about this. It's a simple truth of life. Your energy is connected to everything, especially another human's consciousness, and this wave function has no space-time separation. Quantum physics clearly shows this fact. Haven't we all had the experience of being in a bad mood and your whole day goes wrong? You get held up at every traffic light, you get a speeding ticket, the boss is in a foul mood, and the milk you put in your coffee has gone off. It seems like the whole world and everyone in it is against you, and it appears like it's all happening outside of you. But is it? Or did you create it? What happens when you decide to pick your mood up? All of a sudden, things outside of you seem to go so much better. If we can understand these concepts in relation to a good day or bad day, we can start to look at the stage setting of our life. If your life is often full of bad situations, wouldn't it be fair to say you've accumulated many belief systems, thoughts, that aren't serving you? Our emotional addictions. Our brains are a fascinating mechanism. Within our brains are neurons. Science now proves we create the structure of our neurons via our thoughts. We are all literally wiring our own brains depending upon our belief systems and perceptions of life. If we think negative thoughts, our neurons relating to pain and misery will conjoin with each other and wire themselves into a pattern of negative thinking. Any experience we have which we've attached a negative belief system to sends an electrical message to our hypothalamus, the chemical manufacturing center of our brain. The hypothalamus recognizes this message as a victim thought, which equates to any less than thought we have about ourselves and life. The hypothalamus then manufactures the corresponding chemicals known as peptides that are then released throughout our body. Let's call these particular chemicals victim peptides. When the victim peptides reach our body, we experience painful feelings. As our cells receive the chemical, it hurts. We literally feel pain. The more the cells of our body receive victim peptides, the more they get addicted to them. Every cell in our body is addictive. We're simply made that way. Our cells are unconditional. They have no preference on what they get addicted to. Good or bad, it makes no difference. Our cells literally call out for more of the peptide that they're hooked on. This is why we may all of a sudden feel down without realizing why. Then we start thinking about why we feel this way. By thinking painful thoughts, our negative neurons fire off the less than message. The hypothalamus manufactures more victim peptides, and the cells in our bodies get their fix of the chemical. And on the vicious circle continues. However, the cycle doesn't stop there. Every time a cell divides, it has more and more receptors, docking points, formed for a particular peptide. If you've been a victim for any amount of time, every time your cells reproduce, they're more geared to receive more of the victim peptide. Before you know it, you're spiraling down into depression and you feel terrible mentally, emotionally, and physically. This, obviously, is only the physiological component of negativity. The understanding of the law of attraction allows us to realize when we emit negative signals, thoughts, into the universe, we draw more negative experiences, which, of course, means we have all the justifications to keep thinking more and more negative thoughts. It's easy to ascertain from this medically proven fact how we can get hooked on grief, anger, despair, or any other range of thoughts and feelings that simply don't serve us and only keep us trapped in bondage. This bondage has nothing to do with our outside world. It starts within ourselves. We have the power to turn it around. Our emotional results in life are absolutely reflected physically within our brains. If we've been thinking negativity for a long time, we have to do the work to undo the damage and rewire ourselves. Science now demonstrates that positive thinking and changing our perception will literally unwire the negative clumped neurons and cause them to reform positive clumps relating to positive thoughts. These positive thoughts create peptides that emit positive chemicals, which send wonderful feelings and emotions through our bodies. The more loving, uplifting, and positive thoughts and feelings we have, the more neurons can join with these clumps, the more our consciousness is released as positivity, and the more positive results we attract in our life. Our cells can get hooked on positivity. So all of a sudden, we wake up one morning feeling great, yet not really knowing why. So we think about how incredibly thankful we are for our life, and the cycle continues. The way our brains are wired and functioning is literally creating our reality. This truly comes back to the spiritual understanding all of the masters have taught for centuries. The power is within you. It is physically in your brain, and you create your own reality. What you think is what your life will be. The pre-wiring of our brains before birth. In past life terms, we enter into each lifetime as an energy form before we physically acquire our bodies and our brains. Within this energy is already a DNA imprint of our past selves. Therefore, any past unresolved issues, negative belief systems, we wish to experience the opportunity to heal in this lifetime will be implanted within this energy self, which then reproduces itself as a physical self. Whatever the DNA consciousness is representing will magnetize the conditions we're born into as a direct hit with this DNA. All of this is physically present in our brains from conception. We are all literally born with less than belief systems complete with matching neurons, which will match the lessons we experience from our parents. which were purposefully attracted in order to expose the painful belief, therefore creating the opportunity to heal these issues. To change thoughts, change your beliefs. As we evolve throughout life, we have the opportunity to change our thinking and adopt healthier belief systems. By doing so, we ultimately change our brain's physical DNA and change our total experience of life. Changing our belief systems can literally change our life beyond recognition. Some helpful belief systems that can change your perception, thoughts, to life are: I have the power to change my life. All of this has happened for a powerful healing reason. I am no longer a victim. I am the only person who thinks in my head, therefore, I am a powerful being who is in control of my reality. This is an exciting journey of self-empowerment, and I can create a life much better than I ever thought possible. By healing my belief systems, I don't have to keep living this pain. In this lifetime or future ones, the negative cycle can be liberated now. I now have the opportunity to do the work on me so I can be free. I alone decide how my life is going to be. Reflections. Proof is now emerging scientifically and physiologically that we are the creators of our own experience. Your energy directly affects every aspect of your life. Knowing this grants you the power to create the life and love you desire. You may be physically hooked on your less than belief systems. If you don't change what you believe and think about your life, you will continually replay your less than circumstances. Your bondage is created within your own brain. This condition was present before you were born. By changing your belief systems, you'll change your life beyond recognition. Find out how by reading Quanta Freedom Healing Explained. You have the power to change events simply by what you believe and think about them. Only you decide how your life will go. Take charge of what you think and believe now. This article was created by Melanie Tanya Evans from MelanieTanyaEvans.com.